What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's safe, and I hope everybody's enjoying I think this might be the first week of summer. Great weather out there. On this episode, I got Luke Dowler, great songwriter, incredible songwriter, actually. I got to work with him almost a year ago. I got to record drums on one of his singles that he released at the beginning of the year called Get the Job Done. We talk about that on this episode, but man, we go deep into the conversation of artistry, songwriting, and also we go deep on what it's like to be an artist pursuing a career in music in this industry. Luke tells some great stories, which I really appreciated, about his endeavors and just trying to write music, produce videos for that music, promote his music. He really paints a really good picture of what it's like for somebody. And he's a great guy, such a nice guy. So please enjoy this episode, and please check out Luke Dowler's music. Spotify, YouTube, all iTunes, all the channels. Please go check it out. Enjoy. And there he is, Luke Dowler. Welcome, Luke Dowler. I've been excited to have you on, man.
What's up, man? Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. I've been looking forward to it too,
dude. So I'll give you a little I'll give listeners a little background on Luke and how I know him. So first thing I have to say is, I would say a true artist, man, true musical artist.
Huh?
I would say, like I don't know you well, but I know that you're a hell of a fucking songwriter, like a monster of a songwriter.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we've known each other and worked together the same amount of small time, which is kind of cool that we can, sort of connect, like we can hang out.
Right.
You know what I mean? We could throw a beer back, but we can also obviously play together. And the way I met Luke was, listeners remember Kat London and Rich Aveo. Kat met. So Kat's interesting because tell me if I'm right about this, Luke. Kat approached you at a show.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was playing in Asbury Park, and I played right after her a set. And after I played, and she was one of the most enthusiastic people, just sat through my set and was very enthusiastic and came up and was just so gracious and was like, hey, if you ever need anybody, anything, any vocals, anything, I'm there. You just call me. And I don't know if she knew that I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna take that serious then. So a couple months later, I don't remember exactly how long, but I reached out to her and said, hey, remember that time we met once a while back, and you offered up to sing. And I'm coming back over, and of course, and she not only did she say yes, but when kind of things started to get a lot closer, she helped connect me with you and helped connect me with Rich and kind of round out a band for not only a couple shows but also to hit the studio.
Yeah. So there, I mean, that was an awesome weekend.
Yeah.
So Kat, recommended me, and I got the text from Luke to meet you at a studio in the city, New York City. Killer studio, really nice studio. And then, look, man, I have a lot of social anxiety. So going into that, I was like, fuck, I know I can play drums, but it was like, I'm going to work with somebody's precious material. I always know going in, like a songwriter, it's not out of the expectation that they can be extremely precious about their songs. Right. And sure. I've had experiences, tell me if this makes sense to you, but I've had experiences where I've been just, it was like, ever so picky. Everything was so picky. Every hit, every note, the beat was like, this is not working. I don't feel it, but they did. But these particular people don't know how to communicate what they want. But what I'll say about you is that I think you were quite the opposite, which you were just completely open-minded. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think going into it too, and just knowing that I was going to be coming into a room with some people I'd never played with before. You have to try. It was like I either trust the process or this is going to be miserable because I'm just going to be, anxious about the whole thing. And so I was just kind of like, I'm just going to enjoy the moment and take my hands off and hopefully, and see what kind of thing that, what's birthed out of this thing, or kind of how, and keeping it simple too, I think was just kind of like, it's also maybe where I'm at even musically right now, is just wanting to get to the core of the song or the thing that you're doing, get to the heart of it. The quicker the better. So yeah, I was open. I was like, I mean, I can't be, I mean, I don't even, we had never met except for a few texts, and then of course Kat and I had some back and forth online stuff, and we had played I think by the time we hit the studio, we had done a couple shows, and so there's some face-to-face time, but still there was no real like creative time, and creative. I think the things that I really appreciated about you and Kat and just the crew was that it really was hey, how can we support this, man? We just want to cut to the heart of this thing. So like, and we want you to walk away feeling proud or happy or whatever. So that there wasn't that friction that can happen. And I kind of attributed it to, and maybe it's wrong, but I attributed it to, I mean, one, just through personality, the personality of the people who were there, and kind of their maybe maturity as musicians. And some of that maturity I kind of also attribute to the fact that you guys live where you're at. Because that's not, and this is maybe a rabbit trail, but out here, musical maturity or creative maturity, musical maturity, maybe that's too much of a trip up to use the word musical, because there's talent, but having that creative maturity where you've experienced relationally working with other musicians, and you've been in the room and hammered things out. That doesn't exist quite, not on the same level, just because you don't have as many experiences. You don't have as many places to look. So I was really excited, really happy to work with you guys. That was a long rant, but
no,
yeah.
I like where you opened up great ideas for conversation, actually, because you're from Montana and you're living in Montana currently, right?
Yeah.
Yes, so we were at, New York City. I live right across the river from New York City in Jersey, and then Cat and Rich live a little bit central Jersey, So I kind of, that's interesting. That's an interesting point. I never would have thought that, and you're totally right. Living where we are, we have so many more interactions with so many more people. There's just so many. We're on top of each other in this area here.
Yeah, well, and you have to, there are more it's math. There's a mathematical part to it where it's like there's more opportunities, which in a lot of ways means a lot more opportunity for failure. But and I don't mean that in any other way other than you learn from mistakes. You learn when you take more risks. You put yourself out there because you have to, because there's more competition, because there's more people with the same kind of goals or similar goals, and so you just kind of, you're rubbing up, and kind of sharpening each other, and there's just less people when you get into this area for sure, and and that's can be something desirable for a whole nother reason maybe, but when it comes to kind of that creative, I mean, look, people have talent, and there's sort of like some people are born with more than others, just intuitively. But I don't think there's anybody who's really great at what they do who hasn't spent hours and hours and hours throwing themselves at the mercy of kind of the fates, sort of throwing themselves into opportunities that are risky, that are unfamiliar, that are, and making themselves better and getting better at what they do and learning and picking themselves back up and continuing to push through. especially in a business like the, or an industry like the music industry, and where we're at in 2020. There's been a lot of air or words spoken on all kinds of podcasts about where music is and the value of music and how people consume music and all that stuff. So I don't really care about that, but the general idea is that it is a different, the art form is it's a different world. It's a different or a different desire from the customer, the consumer, generally speaking. So yeah, and that doesn't that sort of getting better and sharpening and even, I mean, I look at it this way, even out here, even just having the other concerts, like bigger bands or bigger acts, artists, songwriters who come in who are doing stuff like when a 12-year-old me or 13, 14, 15-year-olds like going and seeing that and going like, man, I want to do that. I could do that. You start to get a vision for your own life and a direction for where you're going to head, and so more opportunities to see that kind of stuff creates more opportunities to start directing your life that way. And out here, I think the general sentiment is you got to get the hell out of here if you want to go that direction, so you got to go to those places. And I kind of rebelled against that. And it's, for better or for worse, I mean, there's a lot of things that I could say about that, but I kind of rebelled against that sentiment about having to get out of here. I mean, I spent time in Nashville, made a record in LA, made some records here and there. And, and that's not to say that there aren't days or haven't been days where I'm like, damn, if only if I would have just put myself, put roots somewhere else. Perhaps things would be, maybe the sun would shine a little brighter, at least on my bank account. But, but that's who the hell knows, man. You just never know, so. Well, I appreciated that.
Oh, no problem, man. I mean, I would say that, sorry to cut you off because I wanted to say, like about,
I'm long-winded.
No, it's cool about the bank account thing. It's like that. If you're not playing arenas, like as a musician, that is, then you're thinking about your bank account, I would say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're not at the very top of the touring, so completely normal. But I think though, while that is an incredible gap, even to get into that, that very, very high mainstream, like
into I think the 1%ers.
1%ers, yeah. But I think it does create, we'll call it like micro struggle. Struggle does create some sort of need for expression because you're frustrated.
Oh yeah.
Right? You're hitting a wall constantly. So it does breed the opportunity, or it creates an opportunity for individuals to create great art. So, I mean, I mean, great art, great songwriting, for instance, great production, for instance, obviously what made that weekend in the studio with you, and then the shows that we played at the bitter end, what made that special was, because when I think about that weekend, obviously I think of Luke Dowler, right? But I also think of my best friends, Cat and Rich. They were a part of that, which made it even more special. But then I also met Fern and I met Joe Palm, and those two dudes made it even better. And when I really think about everybody's kind of, let's just say everybody's state of mind and approach to that weekend and time spent in the studio. I fucking remember Fern playing bass, and he and but he really was, and I liked it. He was really trying to work, because I guess he knows like bass and drums really do need to work together.
Yeah.
Like a dish with two ingredients that always go together. He knew that, right. and he made the and he was very I don't know, he made, he was
aware. He was conscious of it, and he was like he was working towards finding that spot where you guys were together, and he took it upon himself. He wasn't just sitting there just kind of doing his thing. Like, he brought an awareness into the role of playing bass, because the dude does a whole bunch of other stuff, right? He's not.
Yeah, he's a band leader, right? He has his own
Right.
project, right?
He's got his own band. He's he fills in. He plays a lot of guitar. I wouldn't even know. I don't know if he'd even consider himself a bassist, or if he even plays bass that much, at least in projects.
He played well, man. He has me fooled, because but he brought the he took the responsibility of, I'm bringing in what I can do to bass. Like, let's make this. Let's not just throw the bass in there just to say we have bass on the track. You know, he brought it. He took all the other hats off, and he put the bass hat on, and that was definitely what made it special. And then, of course, you know, and I haven't worked with Palm on really anything else, but I've seen him work with other artists, and I think because he works at Atlantic, he has the experience of working with a variety of artists, and knowing that in general, he's just a feel good, like, just keep a good vibe going in the studio, and encouraging. But at the same time, also, always, you can tell he's still, you can't sleep on him. Like, just because he's like keeping a feel good vibe doesn't mean he's not thinking 3 steps ahead. Yeah.
You know,
oh my God. I remember, I just remember,
no,
I remember, and it says a lot that we all, our whole focus was to get a great song out of you, and to help, right, and help you.
Yeah.
And then Joe as the engineer, his job was to capture that magic, but also how can I make this magic? How can I influence?
Right.
And you're right. That feel good presence. You know, as an engineer, you have to also manage that energy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
There was no bad energy in the room. Everybody was chill, but motivated and focused. And I do remember he was hearing what Fern and I were doing rhythmically. And he was listening to, you know, how I tuned my drums, what hi-hats I was using. And then he positioned mics in a certain way. Like, he changed what mic he was using at one point, because he wanted to capture a certain, right. I mean, I remember, like, I was really ecstatic about that. I was excited by that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was a good experience for sure. I was actually supposed to be back over, I think we were going to be doing some stuff, but we were going to try to, but I was supposed to be back over at the, towards the end of May, and, you know, for a couple weeks into June.
I was looking forward to that.
Yeah,
me really looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, I was too. And we were probably going to try and squeeze something in, another single and something, but, you know, of course, that kind of got, I kind of stopped really thinking seriously about that around end of March. So I was kind of like something that we didn't really talk too much further about, but that was definitely go something. But yeah, I was disappointed that didn't happen, but you know, here we are. So
this is COVID life, and you know, for listeners, you know, Luke's talking about, basically we had a gig booked in May in the city somewhere, maybe. And hey, you know, I'm actually really like, I'm even more a little heartbroken, because you said you would have even attempted maybe to record another single. Yeah. Oh my God, dude. Like, that was one of the best. That was one of the best weekends in the last year for me. One of the most enjoyable weekends doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so, oh man, I feel like I lost out on that. But what's also cool, though, is we're able to do this. We're able to kind of connect a little bit better. I hope this platform's helpful for my friends, honestly, and people who I know music, who are fucking talented, just to express yourself in another way around your music, and also while promoting your music. You know what I mean? I think, though, what would have been cool is I would have asked you if you would have wanted to do this in person, and then we would have had like live music together.
Oh yeah, yeah, man.
Fucking. Oh.
Well, like, hopefully we can make that happen at some point, because I'm still I'll follow back up, but yeah, we were gonna play Rockwood. We were on stage 2, so moving on up. For me,
stage.
Anyways.
Love that. I love that place.
Yeah, and then was working on some other things, but yeah, hopefully we'll revisit the whole thing once we have a little more certainty in the air.
Yeah, definitely, man. That single that we did that particular weekend is called "Get the Job Done."
Yeah.
Tell me what you need, whisper what you want. I will be your breeze, girl, your closest confidant. Tell me your secrets, give me your trust. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, to get the job done. Gonna get the job done. Yeah, whatever it takes, I will get it for you. If anything breaks, I wanna fix it for you. All you got to do is let me show you what I'm made of. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, till I get the job done. Don't get it done.
Oh yeah, I mean, Get the Job Done. The single came out at the beginning of the year, and with Telegraph Hill with Palm and Fern, and then I kind of chopped together a video for it that included some footage. I think you're in there, and included some footage from my time there that actually Palm brought some cameras down to the bitter end when we played the show, and some studio footage, and just kind of put it together. I think I had some other footage from some shows that I had played as well, but it was really just meant to be as kind of a Kickstarter to the year, because I had been saving up footage for all of 2019. I've been saving up footage because I was actually going to school full time. And so in between things, like weekends and just the good graces of professors, I was taking time off, and then, working during the or doing online, just completing assignments and all that stuff. So while when was this? I can't remember now. Was it May? I think it was May, and I think that we connected because I think I had. Or was it August? It was August. Wasn't it?
I think it might have been August, because I do remember, like,
September,
it was August, end of August, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was end of August, because I had basically. Last year I was over 4 times. I think played like 60 shows over in that area. So I had actually scheduled the day the spring semester ended, the day after I flew out for about 3 weeks, and then set everything up for a week and a half or so before the next semester started. And so that's when I had came out there to do that, flew back, and the next day when I got back, I started the semester up, and then just kind of kept working on. I had a bunch of fall dates out in Montana, played the Arizona State Fair, and flew out for a couple other things. But all in all, my whole goal was to launch into 2020 with releasing all this video content, and then I'd been working on a couple other singles. And so the Get the Job Done was going to be the first one. So that video was meant to be just kind of like an intro. And things have definitely adjusted over the course of the last few months. But I'm excited to finally be putting out another single, a studio single on video that I actually shot the video last May. tracked the song last probably January, February, with a buddy of mine in Minneapolis. And he actually is Levi is, he helped produce it. He's got a studio in Minneapolis, but he's the band leader for an artist in Nashville named Caitlin Smith. And she's like a kind of a rock star songwriter, Nashville, just up and comer. I think a fun fact about her, or unfun fact about her, is she dropped her new record on, I think, March 14th.
Oh man.
Which is March 14th is officially the day that I think everything shut down. So
yeah. Oh my God.
So I felt bad. I mean, they had a whole thing, everything just kind of canceled. So for them, but yeah. So he's a band leader for her, and so in his off time, he's does some stuff, and so we put together that song, and it was kind of, even to take it one step further, is Toby Scott, who I know this. I know Toby Scott, who is a long time Bruce Springsteen engineer. He's engineered everything up until like the mid 2000s, and he produced, I think, a couple records. I think it was I'm not a Springsteen aficionado, but I feel like it's a Tunnel of Love or something. Like there was like an early 80s album that Toby produced. I know that for sure. Gotcha. But he's also got his fingerprints on the other rock and roll. Like, I mean, he engineered 8675309.
Oh wow. Cool.
Yeah, a bunch of other rock and roll tracks. And so anyways, I knew him, and so I had asked him if I could just kind of, to be honest, he was open to me coming in, and he had shared with me that for decades, what he would be doing is he would be the only guy, and Bruce would come in, play a bunch of songs, and he would just engineer these demos. And then he would essentially chop them up, label them, so on and so forth, and then give them back to Bruce so he could listen to them and digest, and then rethink them or and all that stuff. So he kind of operated as sort of like that. I don't mean it derogatory to say musical, to like an assistant. He was sort of like, he was sort of
I
like
know what you mean,
assist. Or even in basketball or hockey or whatever, he had the assist in a lot of ways. He was sort of there just to, but he was in the room, and that was something that I was like, for me, that energy was exciting and inspiring for me, just to be like, and this guy is in the room with one of the recorded music's most prolific songwriters in recorded music history, and that's. Man, I just want to glean whatever I can. And can I sit in your studio and just strum through some songs? And he was totally cool with it. And he took a listen to some demos. And before we really started anything, he sat down and for about 2 hours told me that my songs weren't that good. and that I didn't really have, like, he was like, some of them had promise, some of them had some things going on, but that I didn't, in general, I didn't really, where's the chorus, and and kind of picking everything apart, and I just kind of decided up front, I was like, I'm just going to take it. Like, I guess I could really like bristle up and just be like, man, who the hell are you? Okay, you know what? You're of the old guard, man. Like, your time is done. Forget about it. I'm over. I'm out of here. But I just took it, wrestled with it, appreciated it, because first of all, he took the time to listen and had 2 hours of critique, and that's so true. that alone, I was just kind of like, okay, all right. Well, I took it home, internalized, and said, all right, well, I need to write a better song. And so I wrote this song, and I don't know if it's, it's all relative. Well, not all, but a lot of, as long as a song is crafted well, or there, it's kind of like, there's going to be multiple styles of architecture, but as long as its foundation is good and it's has a roof and it has, it can keep, like, it's going to be relative. Some people are going to like that style, this style, that style, whatever. It's just relative. So I feel like it's a better song. And it's and the minute I wrote it, I was like, okay, for me, this is going to be the direction that I'm going to use this song to kind of guide me from here. And put together a video for it and shot that, like I said, last summer. And that was in and of itself just another giant, had an issue, major, going back to that creative immaturity, had a major issue with the guy that I had asked to film the video, and wrestled with him over it, and and ended up taking everything that I had and burned. All of last summer was me behind a computer. No, I could edit before, but really it was coming down to color grading and color correction and all that stuff. And so, like, I was just like hours and hours and hours. I was sitting at my computer for like 80 hours a week in between whatever else, just to try and, like, because I had already at that point put so much into it and had been building things with that. So I was like, I'm not going to be defeated.
Oh man, that's a lot. That's a lot of work. Cause I do minor editing, and what you're talking about color correcting. I'll be honest with you, man. I have zero foundation of where to start with color correcting. It's kind of like being blind and trying to find a wall. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah.
You said you're doing like 80 hours a week trying to, and by the way, how was this an entire one song music video, or was it multiple?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so what ended up happening for this music video is, I scheduled a day shoot and put together, brought together a crew. I had actually dovetailed this shoot in my area, but at the end of a week tour throughout the state, and I had brought my friend Ian, who has since shot, and he's been the guy who's recorded everything. Dude, he just got a camera and nothing else to do, and he wants to film stuff. And so I was like, hey, jump in the car and I'll toss you some bones, and let's drive around the state and film whatever we can, and just see what happens. And then at the end, we'll be hitting this video shoot that I put together with a couple other people on a crew that and then you can shoot Ian, he can shoot behind the scenes stuff. Like, so we can have this whole thing going. And then when we hit that music video shoot date, it was obvious to me. I was like, wait a minute, the guy who I had asked to film it, I was like, this guy, not only did he not pay attention, not only does he not care about this at all, he didn't pay attention to any of the conversations that we had had. It was just the total wrong vibe. It was like, okay, you're totally, like, you just want to sit here. I mean, he would feel like, hey, why don't we go, I think what we'll do is let's go over to that brewery there, and that's where we'll start, okay? And really it's just because he wanted to drink a bunch of beers. And then it was like, why don't we go shoot? So there's this burger spot, and why don't we go over to this burger spot and shoot right there? Because I'm really hungry. And right. And I'm just kind of like, okay, all right. So after that first day, and I had brought, so I had my buddy Ian filming, and then I had another buddy, his name's Levi, different Levi from Minneapolis, but Levi Clatterbuck, who is, he's indigenous, although he would call himself some more crass names because he's half Caucasian and half, I think, Salish Kootenai tribe, which means basically that he's too white to be native and too native to be white. But anyways, he's such a great dude, man. We met actually in a film school that I'd taken, a 2-week kind of thing. I just decided I'm going to do that. And so we met and kind of kept in connection. And he has his drone company, Bear Country Drone. So I was like, hey, man, can you come shoot some drones footage for this? Because it's a run and gun thing.
I saw that
But
footage, by the way.
yeah, some
It's
of it.
great.
Yeah, some of it. Yeah, yeah.
Or I should say I saw a clip that you posted.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah,
Really nice, man.
yeah. And he had never shot anything like that. He actually does. His whole business is actually shooting like infrared stuff and shooting things for like the government, just governmental agencies. So he had never done anything. So with about 30 minutes of some just quick, he did such a fantastic job. But so we show up to this film shoot and everything. And like I said, at the end of the day, I was like, I think we maybe got 15 seconds. And not only did we get 15 seconds, but it was 15 seconds of shit that I didn't even, I said, I don't want to shoot that. Why do you want to shoot that? That has nothing to do with the song or the vision. That's not what I'm trying to communicate. And can we shoot something else? He's like, So I set up the day 2 shoot. The day 2 shoot, the lighting's not that good, but I actually was like, this video needs something else. And so I got a friend of mine to act in it. And she does a great job. Jocelyn. And so day 2 shoot, the lighting got cloudy and we shot this and that. And it just wasn't feeling right. And so the day 3 shoot, and this is over a period of a month and a half, actually. Day 3 shoot, I actually take 8 hours. And Levi and I, the drone, we actually take a full day and we just like scour it's about an hour away from my place, and just kind of drive 80 miles just around. I mean, more than 80, but I mean a square kind of 80-mile back and forth and location scout, find the spot. I've got a buddy who's got this old 65 Chevy, but it won't drive down there. So I get him a flatbed trailer, ask him to bring it down. He pulls on, he ends up coming down. Ian comes back out with his camera. The original video guy comes back out with his camera. Jocelyn comes out. We shoot this thing. And Levi shoots drone footage, and we shoot this thing. And now I would say there's a little more tension on. So I tried to do the same thing. Actually, I was like, okay, hands off. I'm going to let you shoot. You're behind the camera. I just want to wear the hat of like kind of performer. I feel like I've communicated everything that I can communicate. I'm producing this thing. I've kind of directed it, but at some point I just need to sit back and I just want to chill. Long story short, we get done with this, and the footage from that day is like, it knocked it out of the park, man. It was just like, everybody was just like, holy, I cannot believe that, like, we just experienced fantastic.
So it was worth the frustration up to that point, pretty much.
Up to that point, yeah, I'm just like, oh man, it's gorgeous, right? And then I get an edit a couple weeks later from this guy, and I'm like, there was zero coherency. Again, I was like, I feel like you're purposefully doing things because you're kind of, he's wanting to show me that, like, no, I don't care, that's not going to work. And there's just a little bit, and I really can't explain that without going, it'd be too boring or too maybe analytical or too, but he also sent this edit. So I'm paying this dude, and he sent this edit to the other people on the set a couple days before he sent it to me. And so he could get there, basically, we think it's good. So he could come back to me when I have edit notes and say, well, everybody else thinks it's good. And I'm like, well, everybody else didn't pay you. Everybody else's name is not on this video. So anyways, I didn't even say any of that stuff. When he told me that, I was like, I'm not getting into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to just try and take a high road. I'm going to say, this is not working. So I just said, hey man, like almost word for word. And this is just a little insight into sort of that creative headbutting that can happen. I guess that's where I'm going on it. For me, I was like, hey man, I really appreciate all the work that you've done on this. Like, fantastic. I think that I'm thinking that I'm going to have to take it in a different direction though. So, if I could get the footage from you, like, I think I'm going to take it into a different direction, a different cut. And I immediately got a phone call where he threatened everything from kicking my ass, telling me I was the most, I mean, just call every name in the book, telling me that he would beat my, it was interesting. I wish I could have recorded it, but it was a good half an hour. It was a good half an hour of him berating me, and then at the end of it, telling me that he was Irish and he could go to work tomorrow with me because he's able to basically handle stuff like this. And I basically told him, I was like, well, dude, you just kind of let me know how much you respect me and think what you think of me. So how do you expect me to come to the table and trust that you're going to view anything I have to say with any kind of respect or weight? Like, we're done. You're done. Yeah. This is over, man. So
can I ask you, like, when you get into, I mean, look, everybody's had their confrontations like that, but when it is something personal to you, like something creative, man, the way you described it, it seems like you really kept your cool. Did he like burn himself out? And at the end, you kind of were just like, and you were just still kind of calm, or how do you deal with shit like that?
I don't know. I can't say I deal with it. I mean, I definitely, I think at one point after, somewhere around 80% of the way through, after he was, I lost it for 1 second, and I told him something that the only thing fatter than his ego was his face. And then I immediately said, I'm sorry, dude. I'm not meaning to take this. I've really tried hard not to make this personal. I don't want to make this personal. I'm trying to keep this professional. this is really upsetting me, man. I just,
you just were honest, kind of like, well, you kind of fessed up to like, sorry, I didn't really want to get to this point, and like, I'm just upset by this. And that's really, so you kind of kept it really as civil as possible, but honest too. Yeah. It's just like,
well, I think what drives, first of all, what drives me is I would probably say maybe even a producer's hat, which is like, look, man, this project has to get complete. This is not, I'm not working for some studio where I have like, a little bit of play where like, okay, that project didn't work out, moving on to we can kind of incorporate the loss into the next project or something like that. No, not just for finances, but even just as energy resources, just the time that you spend on these things and everything. So for me, it was like, look, man, this is not going to die right here. So I've got to figure it out. Well, for a while, he was holding the thing hostage because he said he'll never give me the footage. It was his footage, and that he was going to sick lawyers on me and blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like, anybody with any basic, the copyright law, it's not in his favor the way that the deal was worked, especially since I have two other filmographers who are on board, and I have that footage. And they, so it's like, so why do you, anyways, it really doesn't matter. It was just like, it was his ego.
Yeah.
And I basically said, like, the saving grace was that I had brought Ian, and Ian had basically filmed, in a lot of cases, second shooter. Just because he was there, he was filming things kind of from a secondary angle, or just off kilter, or just off. Now, he wasn't filming with the intention of making a video, and he also wasn't filming from a tripod, and so there was a lot of stuff. So part of the reason why it actually took me all summer was because I had like thousands of clips that I had to sort through to find, like, what is workable. Really, it was like, what's usable, what's the best shots, and kind of the organizational process was the part of it. But like, because he came and he really, and I've told him, I'm like, dude, you saved my ass on this. Like, like, because of you, I basically was able to walk away and go to this other guy. All right, man, it's your footage. Well, guess what? Your footage, but you have no right to use any footage that has me in it. No right to use any footage that has the truck in it, because the truck guy, my buddy, it's the actress. Was there one other thing? I think those are the three main things. So it was sort of like, so whatever else you have, which is, I think he had a minute of clouds. So, so I was like, feel free to use whatever that. Sure. Here's the olive branch. I'm not going to pursue it any further because I don't have time. Yeah. And I don't want to be vindictive. And unfortunately for me, I had this other footage. So that's, took all summer and into the fall, actually, and because then I started school and just time. So this is really a long, boring thing. Just to say, the process of creating things, at least for me, is really it's labor too. Like it's not just this. People get this vision of being a musician as it being like, I don't know, basically vacation with a musical instrument. And it really is for anybody who's serious, who takes the takes the role of wanting to be that seriously, whatever role in the music industry, musician, producer, engineer. It means labor, it means, and that's and then, well, at least for me, and it's not a complaint, but then, there's an extra percentage of labor times being here in Montana too. So, just to get out of here, get anywhere, and that's not a complaint. It's just sort of like, or it's a reality. It just is. Yeah. The reality is that. So, but I wouldn't be doing anything else. Like,
that's it.
I wouldn't be doing anything else. I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, I just graduated, or I just finished a couple years school, and with some studies in psychology, and was thinking like, well, maybe I'll go in towards clinical psychology. But man, I have the moving bug, in the sense of like, from being a touring artist, and I grew up. My dad's a Marine. Oh wow! And so we moved every few years, and so it's kind of like just in me. Gotcha. and to do the clinical psychology, there's like thousands of hours of practicum, and you really have to put yourself into it. And, there's not a whole lot of room for anything else, and so I was just kind of like, I don't know. You know what? I don't know if I can do that. Like, I don't know if I have that. I know I could do the final product. Yeah. I could get. I just don't know if I could settle down to get there. So.
Can I just? Anyway. I want to point out a few things though from that story. So, like, this is for listeners inexperienced in music or anything creative, and this is also for people who are getting into the creative, even especially music. Is that right, Luke? You can attest to. It's set it in your expectations that you're going to get into confrontations that you don't even intend on having. And because it's based on something you give a shit about, like your creativity, it's going to be like a gut punch, probably.
Yeah, right? At times for sure.
And you just have to deal with that. So that's number one. That's what I'm taking away from it. And it's unfortunate, but it is unfortunate reality. And what was the other thing? It might be in the wind. The other thought. Here's the other one, is that I really liked when you said, while you were dealing with this guy, that you kind of took the producer's mindset, which is sort of like, all right, well, a job has to get done. No pun intended, get the job done. But right. Like, yeah. But here's the thing. It's like, it's not like you were the producer for somebody else. You were your own producer. And I guess my point is what really sticks out to me is, nowadays it's kind of a blessing, right? It is difficult. And like you said, it's a lot of labor, but you can be the talent, but you also could be the producer and the engineer and the editor,
sure.
right? So you can't like you said before, people have this idea of a musician just goes on stage, plays, goes off stage, gets in the studio, records a track, leaves, and then lives an extravagant life. No, you have to be every hat today.
Right.
But you do
Yeah.
have creative control wearing every hat. So that's
Yeah,
also good.
Yeah, I think that there's well, and in this case too, I guess I was even like, because it's a music video, it's almost like a project manager, you know. It's a producer, but project management, meaning like this is a full project, and this is just one part of it, because this couples with the single and this couples with everything else. And so like, how do we get this thing through the fire and onto the other side? More about the completion rate, whereas you know, producer, at least when I think of producer as far as musical producer goes, you know, that's kind of shaping the personality, or shaping the vibe, or the you know, that end product, and trying to bring out the best of an artist and chop the fat, you know, kind of get rid of the stuff that's unneeded, or maybe you know, as they say in literature or literary word, kill your darlings. Get rid of the stuff that maybe you think is the greatest, but it's more distracting, because the thing that most people, when they hear you do your thing, what they take away from a lot of times for us artists is not the same thing as what we want them to take. We want them to take maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 things away. But like, people listen to us and they take one. They usually take one thing away, because people's brains compartmentalize, and you know, they don't have room in their mind to know you. And then it's confusing too, because people actually, they want. Look, we have a need to categorize things and label things. That's just the way our brain has been wired. And so, like for me, if I want to be a jack of all trades, that's fine. But really, the public face of something has to really be, it has to be as like thin pointed. It's like a needle, you know, you have to poke through. You can't have this wide scope, because then people don't really know what to think of you. It's too complicated. So moving on. You know, but when people are able to, at least, you know, and this is part branding too, I guess we're getting, or I'm talking about, but yeah, that's that producer element. I think for me, because you brought it up, I've operated as that, and I haven't worn all the hats necessarily because I wanted to. I will say that if I have a vision for something, I can, just like anybody, maybe be a little difficult to work with, just because even if I don't know what I want, I know what I don't want. But I made the conscious decision like a year and a half or a couple of years ago, actually. It was like, okay, I'd made a few records myself, produced. I kind of always had that. And I was just like lacking the inspiration. Like I found myself empty of something. And I was sort of like, man, maybe can I just focus on songs? Can I just focus on that and demo out some songs, and then try and build some trust with some people? Because out of that, you know, you wind up with things that you never would have thought. I mean, I can produce my own stuff. I can play bass. I can maybe play a little drum. I can do this and that. And then, like I said, I might fall in love with so many things that it's stacked so high, for me, an overproducing kind of deal. You know, it might be a flaw of mine. And so then it's very, it waters down maybe what the thing is that actually spoke to me in the first place to write the song. So I've been reaching out and just like kind of broken things down into this singles mode, and just kind of not rushing any album or anything, partially because that's also the way that people are listening to music now. And it's been that way for a while, I guess. And it's also where it started. I mean, going back to the 50s and the singles, the A side, the B sides, and then the Suits got in there and were like, hey, you know what? We can make more money if actually you sell $12, $16, $18 product. And if you just throw a couple songs, throw some more songs on there.
Yeah. That's smart
Yeah.
of you, though. So this single that you're talking about is called Going to Montana?
Yeah, it's called Going to Montana. It's the first song I ever wrote about really regards to this being out here. And it's part autobiographical. And then, also, though, I mean, my whole family's from St. Louis, Missouri. That's kind of where my mom and dad were from, and born and raised. And my dad saw an article in the back of some magazine to become a park ranger for Glacier National Park, and dating my mom at the time, and was like, "Hey, I'm going to Montana." And she was kind of like, "Is that a marriage proposal then, or what?" Like, and I guess it was. They hopped in a car, came up here, had me, and then my dad joined the military and actually moved away after only about a year here. And so that's a whole nother story. But as I've toured, just being in the state, to be honest, like, I mean, there's only about 1.2, maybe 1.4 now. A million people, right? The fourth largest state in the U.S. And anyway, but that being said, as I've toured around, the same story is always there, man. It's basically like people say, man, things were not working for me where I was living. It just wasn't happening. And I was like, I don't know. I just threw it all in the wind and said, I'm going to Montana. I'm moving there. I'm just going to go there. I need a fresh start. I'm tired of this life, this thing that's, I'm going to build something that I want. And so I've been thinking about that for a long time, because this tune is really for me. Montana obviously is sort of, I guess it is a geographical thing, but it symbolizes really, I think, something, because whether it's that person who's telling me that story, or whether it was somebody 5 generations ago somebody who considers themselves like a natural Montanan or whatever, somebody looked across wherever and said, unless they're indigenous, unless they're an indigenous person, they said, that's where I'm going to Montana. I'm going to make a life, and it's going to be outside of kind of the maybe the path that most people would take, but that's what I'm doing. And so even taking that a step further for me, as I've thought about it, I'm like, that's really kind of the essence, even the idea of America. I mean, as the immigrant looked across the ocean, and came there into Ellis Island. I came to the island. It was like, I'm going to make a better life because it's not happening here. I mean, like, that's what was. That's really was this idea that I think is sort of like the spirit of the immigrant, which is like, no matter what things look like, I'm still going to work, because it's going to be hard work, but I'm going to, like, there's still hope that there's a life that can be built that will be not better for me, but actually better for, like, those who come after me. Because I think that's something that sometimes gets lost, because a lot of times, like, the whole thing about the move, or that again, the journey of the immigrant is not just about how bad things are for that person. A lot of times it's actually about my kids, the life that I'm going to have to be able to set up for the generations that come after me. And that to me is something that's like, it's really kind of nested in the idea of this song, even though it's Montana and it's a geographical thing. But then I overanalyze and overthink things too. So I don't know that anybody else will get that out of the tune, but that really is.
I love it though, man.
That's the
I'm
head trip
interested.
that I've been on.
If you write songs with that way of thinking, I'm more likely to consume your music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's because, we look, man, I mean, when I was a teenager, I want to rock out, dude. Yeah, man. Fast,
Right.
loud, you grow up, your mind develops. And then the stimulation of that way of thinking, of like that discovery of, oh, whoa, that's powerful. So, it's maybe there's an argument made that, let's say out of 100 listeners of your song, what if one of them that stimulated kind of like awakening of a different mindset? Your
Sure.
your song could possibly do that, or
Yeah.
one of your songs could, that's my belief, at least.
Yeah, man. I mean, and for me too, I think I always like the thing that really, I guess, inspires me, and probably is somewhat in the core of a lot of the tunes that I'm writing, is really even as micro as a song might get, for me, sometimes I'm always thinking about the macro, the bird's eye view, really the humanity of it, the thing that's sort of, and try to find that authenticity, that honesty of like, and it's actually probably less, sometimes maybe it's not as sexy as rock and roll would, has kind of made it, because a lot of pop and rock and roll, I mean, its whole point is that it's primal. It's basically what I feel in the moment, right here, right now. And that's also why a lot of it is disposable. But, there's something to be said about it, because it's an expression of right here, right now. And in that way, it is that, it's tied to sexuality and things, because it's that primal, just heartbeat, and feel good in the moment kind of thing. And I can't say that I've hit the mark or anything. I would never say that, but the thing that actually I am always, for better or for worse, thinking about maybe trying to think. I'm just consumed with thoughts that are bigger picture, that are a lot of times that might be that, but then still like, okay, but the zoom out, this and then the zoom out kind of thing. I guess I don't
surface, really, right?
Yeah, below the surface, or even somewhat just trying to be honest, even about at least thoughts, or taking a look at the mirror and knowing the trying to get rid of ego in a lot of ways, I guess, because, and trying to know myself enough to know everything from like what a piece of shit I can be. And so applying that to maybe songs or thoughts I'd like to write about what a piece of shit somebody or something else is. And so like finding that common ground of like, okay, but let's be honest here. Like, let's be real honest, instead of just diving into the emotion of it. That could be the starting point, but then let's take a step back. Let's follow that back and like be honest and be like, oh yeah, but I could be that same in a different situation. I could be that guy, or I could be that kind of, I don't really know what I'm saying here. Just saying,
I think what you're saying is extremely important. Like this point you just made, which was like a zoom out, a different perspective, taking your ego away, and what is the reality? Can I find what is, and apply that to certain behaviors of mine or others? And what you're talking about, dude, I really believe what you just said couldn't be more needed now in we'll call it America, just like life in America.
Sure.
I think that's powerful what you just said. I don't know how I don't know how you get your music to
right.
You know what I mean? That blows my mind, but
I think it really is about, I mean, because I'm really more concerned about being a bridge. I think that's the thing, musically, but even as a person, I really would prefer to be, I want to be a bridge to points of view, to and so that requires it requires introspection, and that's going to be That's not something that everybody wants to do or is built for or is capable of doing. Everybody's got different, it's just something that I've always, I guess, gravitated towards, is like always feeling like I'm in the middle, feeling like I'm caught in between the middle of things, that it's like, yeah, I mean, not just current, obviously you could extrapolate and put that into today, but I'm not even necessarily just talking about today. I just mean like, even if it's just a fight between two friends, even if it's just, just feeling like in them, even if it's a fight that I have had with somebody, once cooling down, trying to put myself in their position and see it, like feeling like I'm now in the middle of myself and the other person, trying to identify. I mean, for me, I can't say it's a helpful exercise. Maybe it's actually more, I don't know what the right word is, manic. I don't know, but for me, I try. Sometimes it's a helpful. Right? It's a helpful exercise, not to bury feelings of the negative anger and not to bury that stuff, but to, I guess, identify what are you really angry about, or what are you really upset with? Like, get through the noise and get to the signal. Like, what's the real thing that's worth? What is really worth the conflict, or what is there anything? Was it just? Is it just ego? Is it a bad day? Is it? And maybe this is a good illustration of I think about things in relationship to like one-on-one or a couple-on-couple kind of, and then extrapolate that a lot of times and take a step back. I mean, I made a record called Polarize in 2012. And I mean, it's just a simple, straightforward kind of rock album, but like that tune for me, I mean, it's a super simple tune, and the lyrics, I mean, are just, for me, it was like, man, I was actually really torn up, because I'm like, this specifically, I'm like, man, this nation, like this, we're not just this nation, but I just mean like society, really. It just feels like there are two sides forming right now. And nobody like, and yeah, there's just two sides that are forming, and maybe they've, I mean, there's a lot that could be said about that, even scientifically, psychologically. I'm not an expert just because I spent some time in the books, but I've researched a little bit. I have some ideas or thoughts on that it's almost in our nature to form two sides, because personalities, and basically what you have is you have people who see different problems as the first priority. Gotcha. And so so one side sees, anyways, all I'm saying is that
I like really, what you're saying. You can keep going if you want to. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, it's just kind of like, you, and so when you see something as the first priority, this is the, take it evolutionarily speaking, and you've got a person that sees, if you let too many new things in, it'll, it's kind of like the virus. You have to put up a wall. You can't let new things in. Otherwise a virus could come in and wipe us all out. The other side says, well, if we don't let new things in, we're going to starve. So we're just going to wither away. And so now you have two sides forming that says, no, if you don't do this, we're going to die. No, if you don't do this, or if you do that, we're going to die. And so that sort of battle is waging. I think there's an element of that today. But my point, I guess, with this record was just really to look at, okay, well, look at this socially speaking. We have these two sides forming of this groups of people. The line seems to be getting drawn wider and wider, or maybe it's thinner and thinner. But how does that happen? How does it happen? Yeah. Like, look at a relationship between two people, and let's look at that and look how that happens. Yep. Because that happens, how the deterioration of a relationship, and so that was kind of that whole record was a little bit, rolling those ideas around during that time. And musically speaking, like I said, it's straightforward rock and roll, but there's a lot of but I stand behind those ideas today, 8 years later or whatever, because I obviously, it's obviously we're in a spot right now today that is it's pretty inflammatory, and for again, for justified reasons, but there's also a lot of noise. It's hard to find the signal. It's hard to find the signal because people are so willing to abuse information just to confirm their own bias, or just to make sure that just to get the sting of knocking the other side down, and to conflate information, to manipulate information, to we really are in this information war right now, and it's
totally right.
And it's sad because most people just want to live their lives, but that also means that they don't really do much thinking beyond these headlines that are slapping us in the face. And the first paragraph that is written with the tone that, that confirms it, next, share. And it's like, yeah, but did you read the last paragraph where it basically negated this whole this whole article was basically just to say, just to put a tone out there, just to confirm the tone or the vibe that you're feeling, whichever side, whatever thing you're thinking, just puts it out there. But then the end kind of but then blah, 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 blah. And then that's it. And it's unfortunate.
As a teacher, I gotta say, man, because what you're talking about, it sounds like what you're saying is you have, just separating and zooming out for a second, you have two sides that are trying to argue with each other that they're right. So their end goal, though, they probably have similar end goals, right? In some way, which is reaching some level of security and keeping a freedom, right? But they're arguing at who's right. And by what people don't realize, and I'm guilty of it too, and I'm learning this, is as a teacher, if you're arguing with your student about being right, if you're just trying to be right, you're not teaching.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
your whole process,
you're not going to change if you don't learn.
You want people to think for themselves, and you have to, and in order to do that, you have to trust that and depending on the angle that people are coming at, because there's a large postmodern influence in kind of how we're viewing things these days. So maybe some people would say that there is no, truth, so to speak. But I think if you're teaching, you sort of have to think that there is some kind of truth out there that will eventually resound if people are really seeking it, if people want to grow and learn, that there is something out there that holds through the, kind of the sifting and the shaking of the trends that we've got, going on. And I don't know, I think, or maybe it's to find the new, or people will grow and somebody will discover the new idea, I guess, that unlocks the secret portal to human achievement, which I think will always be there too. But I think I can get pretty pessimistic when I start thinking about that, because I think I think the human species is left to our own devices. We're pretty self-sabotaging, and the things that we make, the things that we incorporate, the technologies are really, we incorporate whatever makes our life more comfortable. And that actually, it's good. There's a lot of benefit, but the long term is that it actually it may not be so good. I guess we'll see, but it may or may not be good. Being ambiguous a little bit there, but anyway. So yeah, I've got a lot of a lot a lot to there's a lot to think about these days. So and COVID has given us all time to do it.
Yeah,
You know?
dude, for real, man, for real. You can't escape it if you're on. Talking about when you talked about ego before.
Yeah.
It's like, do you find it? Do you find? By the way, I do want to get to your all of your music. But one last point to what you were talking about before. Do you find it? You were talking about trying to remove the ego, and it's such a mindfulness, almost Buddhist endeavor, but it is important. And the fact that you recognize that, it's like okay, Luke Dowler is an advanced human in civil. I do believe that when people can recognize their ego will eventually be in their way of wherever they want to be. It might prevent them. So the fact that you know that, now I have to ask you though, is you're also in an industry where you have to showcase yourself via Instagram and whatever, Twitter
Sure.
and all that. You have to promote yourself. So do you find it maybe a struggle? Is there a balance that you have to reach of, man, I want to keep my ego out of it. I want to make meaningful music to me, but also, like you said, I like how you I don't want it to be about me. I want to be a bridge to this idea or a bridge to this way of thinking, right? Do you find it hard to balance that?
I think that in some ways, maybe earlier on, but I think something that really just struck me in the last few years, maybe more specifically, was it's just like, but look, there's a psychology to this whole thing as well. And this was something actually probably that struck me a few, even before that. It just I wasn't sure how to process it or incorporate it, but it was just like, I mean, to be a musician, to be a songwriter, to be whatever, in that world, and to have a public, a face, that of what you're doing is a public face, so that basically means that there's an expectation then of what the public expects or wants from what you're doing, if you want to be in the marketplace with it. And so my thoughts kind of went from, and I think this is where, I mean, not to say that I'm like I'm more mature, but I think that it's a little bit of a sign of immaturity when that separation is, and I could be totally wrong, because some people have just convictions. So, but there is a level of assumption, let's put it this way, assumption that, like, if there's some photographs or whatever that like present you, which is in the end, it's a product. For me as a songwriter, I mean, as a performer and songwriter, like, there has to be a level of, that's a product, like, for better or for worse. And I don't have to do it that way. I mean, there are people that don't, and I could go about it a total different way for sure. But I just thought of it like, hey, if I go to the doctor's office and the guy comes in scuba gear, like, kind of be like, I'm going to a different doctor. Like, if I go to, Starbucks, like, I expect them to have a Starbucks apron on. If I go, like, there's a sort of an expectation for the role that this person is filling and what they're serving. There's an expectation for it. And you can buck the trend, and if that's completely goes against the authenticity of who you are as a person, by all means do that. But and maybe that's your thing, actually, and maybe that's what people love about what you do. But it's something that I think, for me, it just intuitively, it's like, it doesn't mean that. I feel foolish at times, when you're doing a photo shoot or something. I'm like, oh, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. Like, there definitely are times like that.
Yeah, same here.
But at the same time, it's like, but if I have a message, the way I think about it is like, but I want to give a platform to I mean, I'm delusional enough to think that, one, I have things worth saying, and two, that people should listen. So, so if I'm going to do that, then I might as well try and give it the best shot as possible to be heard. And part of that for me was approaching it from that angle of like, I don't know if uniform is the right way, but in some way, in some case, like, I mean, that's what you expect from other functional members of society who fulfill a role, lawyers and professional folks. And when you don't, it's just like, what? I don't get what this is weird. I don't, so that's the way I've approached it. So the ego thing for me is, I think it's not that it's not an issue, because it definitely is an issue. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say like I don't. there are times where, and I don't know. Yeah, there's always going to be moments, and probably seasons where it rules and you don't realize it, or maybe you do and you just feed it because it feels good. I don't know, but I definitely, I guess long term, I'm trying to. I guess humility is something that I think is worth pursuing. So
definitely,
and I think that it's the thing that one of the things my eyes are set on. So yeah,
that's a good answer. Humility. I think that's a great word.
Yeah,
man. So all right. So I do want to get to the other. You said Polarized, which came out in 2012.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, was that in an entire album?
Okay. Yeah, it's an entire album. I made it down in LA, signed a bad record deal with a label who and then made the record, and then did some touring around and really had no support from the label. As a matter of fact, I think I might have sold more copies than the label did.
Oh wow.
And ended up, it was a 3-record deal, and ended up getting them to release me for the rest of the contract, because they were wanting me. It was so bad. They were wanting me to provide them a second record, but at no cost to them. Like, I just had to give them a record, and then they would still have they would also have all of the same ownership as a label would, as if they paid for it. If that makes sense. And I was like, I'm not spending money making a record and then handing it to you to own. No, like, you better cough up some cash if you're gonna have some ownership in this, and show me a marketing plan, blah blah blah. Anyways, got out of that, and was a little bit kind of like, there was a moment where I was kind of like, I kind of knew it was a bad deal, but I have always been of the mindset that you can't get you can't get people. Well, you can't get to where you're going. Like, a ship doesn't sail unless you point it in the direction. You just start sailing, and like, you can change direction as the wind blows. You can change direction, but like, you can't just sit there in the boat and go like, well, I guess we'll just, like, I just say, like, pick a direction and go, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. And you could sit around waiting for the perfect opportunity and the perfect record deal and the perfect whatever. But in my case, I've always, like I said, I've been like, yeah, it's not perfect, but I want to get, my goal is to get into this business and to, try to carve out a living and try to, find a place for what I'm doing. So I'm going to put myself out there. And when it didn't work out, I was still really hopeful that it was going to work out. But when it didn't work out, I was kind of like, well, what now? And that's when I just started woodshedding, actually, to be honest with you, studio, from YouTube videos, everything, kind of compiling enough stuff to start making my own records. And it was kind of like, well, I guess I can do whatever I want now. And so I kind of, I did that and started making. I made a few records at my own in my own space, and I started three a project called the Compass Projects, a project which was basically intended to be 4 EPs that would be north, south, east, and west. And
oh wow, yeah, I see that here on your page too. Yeah, that's
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, and I still have yet to get to east because I kind of got done with north, south, and west, and became a little. Well, I actually had some health issues. I had a it did interrupted, and that was actually about a year and a half. Like I stopped. I wasn't able to perform or tour. I couldn't. I couldn't stand up.
Oh wow.
And my daughter just ran through she's crawling back here. Yeah, so I couldn't stand up. I had some discs in my back that had actually kind of pretty much blown out, and one of them was just kind of moving up and down my spinal cord. And so like I had my leg. One day I woke up, I couldn't feel from my knee down anymore. And then other than, I don't know if you've ever walked around the back of a truck or a van and shinned yourself against a trailer hitch. Like, where you just run. And like, I had that feeling almost 24 hours a day on my shin, and it was just nerves going off. And so I kind of got lost in that for about a year and a half, and finally saw a doctor who was like, I can help you. And so we had surgery and woke up out of it, was like, I feel so much better. And so then I spent about 6 months doing some rehab stuff and kind of getting back on the road. And I hit the road, and then I was just like, man, after everything that I was just like, I need something different. I need my brain to like recharge and to be used. I've been so focused in like this narrow, because that's what pain does, man. It just gets you so focused that it's just like all you're doing is seeing that. So I just needed something to change.
Talking about like hypersensitivity to the pain, where you're like always thinking about it, and you can always feel it, type thing.
Yeah, when you have chronic, if for people, especially with some kind of chronic physical pain, where it's just like it's always there.
Same. Same.
That
with
means
me, man.
Yeah, your mind, basically, it means that your mind is divided because your mind is attending to that pain, trying to either defend it to keep it away, or it's trying to, or wrestling with something. But your mind is divided to where you're thinking about a percentage of it, and that's the goal, is that your mind wouldn't have to, and that's what that's what the goal would be. But anyway, so that's why when people are in pain, the irritability is there. It's because your mind is just like, it's kind of irritable, and
you also don't feel like you don't feel confident in your ability, right? You almost feel like I'm limited to my ultimate goals. Like for me, it was drumming, carpal tunnel syndrome, but it's also in the neck, it's in the shoulders, the shoulder blades. Like you said, it's constant. Yeah. And depending on anxiety or whatever's going on, it's either spiking or it's just a mild throbbing, constant. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. So for me, I have this carpal tunnel syndrome. So there goes my drumming career. So then,
right.
And you're right. You're totally right. It's debilitating.
Yeah. Kim, well, it definitely was for me. It got to the point I was having to take a piss in a bucket and couldn't put pants on. I couldn't, like, it was just, before I had surgery, it was real bad. Wow. And so, but flash forward and could stand and started to, I guess for me, I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to like become intense about, well, for me, it was a few routines fitness wise that I was like, I could manage it. And if things started to go south for my lower back, like, that I was just going to have to be very, very aware and pay attention to it. And so I started incorporating that to where I was going to, the pool therapy was actually the best thing that ever happened for me.
Oh, wow.
And so I'd spend an hour in the pool Monday through Friday in the mornings, like 7 to 8 a.m. And I had a routine and carried that on mostly up until, probably last fall. And then I actually started doing more weight train, more just kind of gym stuff. But like, that's one thing that COVID has just screwed up for me because it took me out of that routine. And actually, I mean, like 2 weeks ago, I was laid out for 3 days. I just twisted the wrong way because I have some more discs. And so it was like, I couldn't get up. I couldn't stand straight. It was just and it took a week or more. It was actually the worst kind of thing that I had felt since, a couple of years ago. So it had me a little like, oh, I hate COVID. I want to get back into a routine. And now out here, actually I can, because stuff's open up. But it's hard to get, it's also that cycle. I got to get my mind right. But, all I was going to say, is that hit. And that's actually when I just decided, like, you know what, I'm gonna enroll in school and I'm gonna go full time because I just need some different. I need to expand my focus right now because I've just been so narrowly focused, and I don't want to take the long path to figuring that out. Like, let me just throw myself into a situation where I'm totally a fish out of water and unexpected. Like I don't, been locked into something that I'm kind of familiar with, and I need to get out of my comfort zone. And so that's what I did for 2.5 years. Just finished up this May. So beginning of last month, mid month or so.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And that was an endeavor in getting some sort of. Did you get a degree?
No, I kind of hit pause because I was kind of like, so I was kind of working with I'm going to hit this, this probably the last couple semesters. I was kind of realizing that, like, man, music is really calling me right now and speaking to me, and I had some opportunities, and so I'm gonna transition and launch into 2020 with this footage and these songs and this musical kind of determination. I'm going to launch into 2020 and see what happens and give it a year or two. And I'm going to take the slow lane to wherever I wind up with a degree, because I mean, I've thought about even a PhD over the course of like the next 7 to 10 years, just pursuing that and doing it kind of in the background. And so that's kind of what I was like, and I don't know that that's necessarily possible. I know that I could get to a certain point.
The knowledge is very valuable, though, right? Especially, you just said psychology. I mean, I imagine, do you feel like it was transformative in a way to think about human behavior? And
I think in a lot of ways it was transformative just to be thinking about things. For me, I was been really laser focused, and in some ways I was self-sabotaging on even just music and like, okay, how to do this, and how am I doing it from Montana, and what ideas and strategies and stuff. And so for me, it was just like, just to take some time, and in a lot of ways it was like therapeutic just to take my eyes off of that ball, and then to think about human behavior, and to think about even historical context, just to dive in, and I think it was just eye-opening too, or really confirmed, I think, one thought, which is, as an artist, for artists, like, sometimes I think there's a little bit of fear. If you've made a couple records, sometimes like how maybe the best is behind me, or maybe like feeling writing block or whatever. But I think in some ways it's confirmation that that art comes from life, and you have to live a life, and you have to find and if you do that, then you always have something to write about, and that you'll always have something to say if you're living your life and trying to learn and grow, and or even just even if it's you're just screwing your life up royally, but you're still like anyways, you gotta it's almost like I think what I'm even saying, if I could put it in a metaphor, is like, I think sometimes for me, I struggled a little bit with making the music career a little bit like Gollum in the Ring, like in Lord of the Rings, my precious, like, and you just get so focused on, okay, like that's what they say, you got to be so focused on it, crafting and carving and doing the checklists and doing this and that and this and that. And they don't tell you is like, a lot of that stuff is hindsight from going back, and it's sort of like a self-selecting, like, hey, this has worked for some people, and these are the common threads, or these are some of the threads. And, but there's no guarantee, man.
Yeah.
Especially there's no guarantee of anything. And then, add in a healthy degree of entitlement, and you can really come up with some messed up thoughts about the world, about yourself, about what you do. And so working through that, I think it's been a process for me to just work through over a long period of time. And I think that other people might not have the same battle, but I think everybody has a version of that battle. And I think that especially if you do it for long enough, and you start looking around, and you start, it can be, sometimes you can take a look around and feel like, man, look at everything you've sacrificed and all the stuff you've put in to making this ship go. And what do you have to show for it? It can be like, so, and I don't say that, I think that you can then look at all the wrong things. I don't know that those are. Then you start getting. Right now, I'm sort of getting into the question of what is success really.
Yeah.
That's kind of really, and how do you define success?
Mm-hmm.
And we're definitely in the age of, you got to define success. And we sort of know this intuitively, but we got to define success as something other than a dollar amount. Mm-hmm. However, the dollar is still the thing that confirms that what you're doing is speaking to people, because, people will, that's really where, when what you're doing resonates, then people want to give you things for it, like, whether you're a farmer with a milk cow, or a songwriter or whatever. Like, if people value, like, hey, I want that in my life. I need what you do. I need in my life. So there's always going to be that element, but I think success for a personal, you have to define it differently for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
it's almost a blessing it's almost a blessing that the age of the rock stars kind of did in a weird way. Cause then now it's been dead for a while, I would say. We don't have that expectation to live up to for pursuing music,
Well, I mean, a lot of it though too. I think some of it was manufactured. I don't know that all of it was real. From the first place, I think maybe there was a few people, the icons maybe, and then it was sort of like, look at what that stirs it up, man. So you got to create, that's why you have Guns N' Roses, and he's drinking iced tea out of Jack Daniels at a certain point, bottles, and they have like a wall of 20 Marshall half stacks, but there's a 212 in the back that's mic'd up, like it's manufactured. it's a manufactured deal. But and I think the part where I start to get a little more pessimistic is actually like, yeah, I agree with you, but then the reality though is that that's really just because the suits have won. When I say the suits, I just mean the guys who basically are they've realized, and there's this great Father John Misty song, and man, I wish I could. I might have to find it while I'm talking here.
Sure.
But basically, and I don't even think you need to be, if you're a musician, creator, we're living in a world where essentially kind of the distribution channels, well, they've said that the distribution channels were shattered, but I think they've gotten to control. And when I say they, I just mean like the top decision makers. They've gotten to control through algorithms and, Facebook advertising. And I mean, what kind of BS is like, you gathered 5,000 fans who said, yes, I love your music. I will click like, and I want to know when you do other things. And then all of a sudden Facebook is like, okay, if you want those 5,000 people to know, you have to pay. And you're like, what? Wait, I just brought all these people onto your platform.
Is that a real thing?
Oh yeah. Like if you have an artist page, like you can put out, like on my artist page, that you put something out, 14,000 people, 30 might see it. Like you have to pay money. You have to boost the post. You have to put it into an ad to actually put it in front of people who like your page. And maybe that's $5. Maybe it's, they nickel and dime you, but that's how they work now. And so,
wow.
So you have like, you have a very, of course, the algorithms, as more people pay attention or as more people go there, they do loosen up the algorithms, which means they release the content because the math says that, hey, this is interesting to now instead of 10, it was interesting to 30. So we'll release it to a little bit more and see how that goes. And like, it's kind of that algorithm, plus the consistency of how much content you make. But really, I'm rabbit trailing.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, for a while in the early days when YouTube was Wild West, they promoted people who were consistently putting out content. So if you're consistently putting out content, that means you're consistently making things that will draw viewers to their platform. Mm-hmm. So they're going to put you to the front just by whatever you're doing. It turns out it was getting kicked in the nuts and cat videos and, all those types of videos that drew the most views. And so that's why it became this sort of comedic site. Now it's evolved beyond that. And now it's a slow burn if you want to try and build it. But Facebook, same sort of thing. Facebook was like, and they've gone back and forth on trying to figure out how to get content instead of people's feeds just being spammed with stuff from people. But yeah, you have to, so like I have to spend money on a post if I want people to see it.
Wow.
Outside of maybe 25 to 50 people who, for me anyways, who are maybe a little more actively paying attention. And so my point really was saying that back to this Father John Misty song, and is that, and I think it was, I might play it in the background. I don't know if this is it. I don't think it is. No, it's not. Anyways, there's this, it's basically about being a musician in modern day, and when he says they, meaning whether it's the people or the business, the industry side, they figured out that we do it for free. They figured out that we would be doing this whether we made money or not. So like,
wow.
And so like, and it kind of opens up the conversation. It's pessimistic on one hand, but also kind of like, so it's this blessing and a curse. That's the way I look at it. Being a musician today, it's a blessing because of the experience and the expressions that you get to have that, other people won't, other people. But and also the possibilities. You get to kind of live in a dreamland, because you just never know if song is king or what opportunity might come your way, because music is so powerful that lightning might strike and you never know. But the curse is just that you also never know. You can't expect anything. And you pour your whole heart into something, and it's hard not to take it personally at times, because it is personal, because you're pouring, any good artist is pouring their heart, whether it's a musician into their performance, or an engineer, or a producer. Like, anybody who's worth their salt is pouring their heart into what they do. And so it's, I don't know that there's any way to not take it personally.
That makes sense. That does make sense. I will say this, because what you're talking about is bleak to think about.
Yeah, sorry.
No. I mean, hey, I don't have any singles or any music that's out there for people to purchase, to be honest with you. I only have this. I only have Instagram videos and all that bullshit. But I will say this, though, man. I think that people like yourself and the characters that that were included in that really cool weekend in that recording studio. I mean, I just think that one thing that I see that I'm going to throw out fucking pop star names, but like a Katy Perry, let's say, or a fucking, I don't know, somebody who's got more candy coated material being pumped out, right? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's like this. Yeah. Okay. The songs are getting absorbed for sure. So it's difficult to get people to listen to music, even if it is free to listen to. They just have to click on it. I feel, though, what I feel is, from what I see, and even in live performances sometimes, that people don't actually show themselves, and they don't communicate themselves to the audience. I feel like they communicate, again, that expected persona, right?
Right.
That persona, yes, is expected, but there is an opportunity to fuck with that system. If you come with that, I always say, if you're at the bitter end, or if you're at, some smaller venue in, like, let's say Asbury Park or whatever, and there's 30 people in the audience, if you come in that place and you're up on stage with that persona that you would see in front of thousands, it almost seems like, where the fuck are you? It's right. Now, as an audience member, like, where do you think that you are? How about that?
You're talking about reading the room a little bit, or no awareness of, it's like the drummer that comes in and plays the same kind of thing, right? I know you probably, as a drummer, you probably had to deal with that, or drummers who are just like, dude, you're playing like you're in an arena, but you're in a jazz club.
Absolutely.
Like, so you're overpowering.
You're totally right. And even, and in that regard, I find that there's an opportunity. Podcasts, fuck the word. I hate the word podcast, because now they're doing them in video now. So now it's a show.
Right.
But it's almost not even a show. So it could be entertaining, but it also is a forum to hear an authentic conversation, as opposed to fucking, what you see on the, sorry if I'm cursing, if your daughter's, I apologize.
No, it's good. She's not in the room.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good.
But the late night show interviews, they're 5 minutes and they're not honest, right? So,
well, because those things too are built about selling it's a very distilled conversation with bullet points in order to push the conversation towards the product. And usually it's a product that is the network is actually pushing, because it's an actor or a musician that's on an affiliate label or a show on that network or whatever, Yeah. Totally.
I think that people like yourself, though, even just through this conversation, like I said before, I'm more likely to even pay you for your albums, right? Because of what you've shared about your personal experience and the way you think about the world. That is meaningful to me. Now, is that meaningful to all music listeners? Probably not all of them, but I do think that if you and I are talking about
that's a good point,
right? If we're talking about the growth of the mind and the opening of the mind, then that means that there are more people that are below surface thinkers than ever before. And while they may not be like hundreds of thousands of them that will absorb your content eventually, maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's
Sure.
5,500. I do think though the pursuit of opening up and showcasing that side of your personality, I think that's the avenue. That's my opinion. That's why I'm
Mhm.
doing this. Like I don't give a
I think
shit.
you're right.
I don't give a shit, by the way, if I have people that, oh, Anthony Frieda, BaDumBizz, that show. I that's why I really fucking liked what you said before about being a bridge. Because
Mm.
that is why I did this. I
Yeah.
just know too many talented people who are actually really funny, but also I have deep conversations with them. You're included in that now, man. This is one of the deepest conversations that I've had on this show. And if I can be a bridge uh, to just your artistry, I mean, beyond your songs,
Right.
meaning, right? Just you as an individual and a voice. That's really all I want, even if it's only 10 people. Sorry.
Right.
But
No.
do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that,
man.
and I think, I don't know, for yourself, man, I mean, if you're your own producer in a way, and it is labor, but you can do it. You can create your own
Yeah.
content, video, obviously, and producing music and stuff like that. I don't know, man. I love the fact of how you think. I love how you think and the way that you were able to express it, and you're delivering that. And there was a
Mm.
little bit of like little doses of me learning a different way of thinking, or a different way of a different perspective. That's valuable to me.
Right on. Yeah. Well, I think that, we live in this time, which I think actually, there's been I've listened to a lot of conversations myself, just whether it's video or audio. And I think that one of the good things about this time, one really great thing, is that I think people have more access, and that's really what you're talking. I think a lot of people want access to authenticity. Like, so it's access, because look, we've had the Tom Cruise movie stars. He's like the last one, and we've had the Axl Rose, Elvis. They all wind up in Vegas, bloated. Like we know how that story goes. Like,
yeah.
And the distant movie star is got skeletons in their closet. They're just trying to keep away from the public knowing, because it'll affect the roles and how you see them. But really, people want access, and I think to some authenticity, and that definitely is. I'm actually a really private person. I'm really private in the sense of my personal life. Like, I really don't share much about it, and in some ways it's because I think probably it's something that needs to change, for sure. But just because I'd like to kind of bring the two worlds together a little bit more, instead of having to wear two hats, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think that that is. I mean, it resonates with me just hearing you say that. I mean, that's the thing, is you want authenticity. That's why people who are, if you're a fan of somebody's work, whatever field they're in, that's why if you're, a hardcore fan, you're scouring for stories that give you a little more insight into how they operate, or how that project finished, or is that story you heard a rumor? Is it true? Is it, oh, that's crazy, I didn't even know that person was in the room. Just you want those details, because it helps bring depth to why you're like, it brings a richness and depth to the thing that you like about that person or person's work. It kind of illuminates the detail that you don't you feel is there, because that's why you like it. That's why you're gravitating towards it. But the further you go, you're like, you fall in love maybe a little more with it, or appreciate it more, at least. So I think that's absolutely right on. I did a podcast for a while, and
Oh, you did?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I did about 15 episodes, and I sort of just, for me, it was really just conversations with people who are making things off the beaten path, and that was really my goal. And Yeah, and so it was really it was a lot of fun. I just ran out of time because it takes so much
It
time.
is. Yeah,
So,
it is.
and speaking of that, I need to get going because I got actually a bunch of stuff I have to do today.
God, yeah, I understand, man. Well, Luke, I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah,
And,
thanks for asking me.
Dude,
Appreciate it.
no
Good
sweat at all.
conversation.
For listeners, please go check out Luke Dowler on Spotify. He's on all the platforms. YouTube. He's got videos. He's got a single coming out June
26th, next Friday. So depending on when this airs, it could be the last Friday, it could be a couple weeks. I don't know when this is coming out, but
I think I'm gonna
26th
try.
is dropping.
I'm aiming for Wednesday. So,
Right on.
So
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
so it'll be that Friday. Please go check out. And it's going to Montana.
Going to Montana, yeah, it drops.
And the video too.
Video too. Yep.
Awesome. All right, Luke, thank you again, man. I hope to see you in the future, and I hope we get to play again, man.
I do too. I look forward to it, man. It'll happen for sure. Thanks, Anthony.
Awesome. Take care.
All right, you too.